Director Clarence Clancy Albright's brass desk shone brightly, but his mood was far from bright. His typically steady hand was now balled into a fist.
Gone. 1.7 minutes. Manifest 7b theta. 500 units of refined Fluxite. Disappeared.
His voice, which was usually smooth and silky, turned into a deep growl that made the delicate chronometers on the wall tremble. Broker Evelyn Evie Sterling, dressed flawlessly in deep emerald silk, kept a calm exterior, though her emerald eyes, typically lively with humor, were now narrowed in worry.
The expedited courier route, Director? The new temporal-phase passage to the northern refineries?
That route was a tightly held secret, an advanced innovation. This wasn't merely a loss of revenue. It was a massive security breach. Logistics overseer Jules Croft, bent over a portable console displaying complex time diagrams, was a bundle of nervous energy. His fingers moved rapidly over the illuminated controls, and his usually messy hair was even more untidy.
Ambience distortion started at 7:12:43. Standard deviation from the temporal signature was minimal for the first 45 seconds. Then there was a slight pull. It was consistent across all time vectors. This isn't a phase collapse, Director. It's an extraction.
Clancy's eyes, icy and piercing, darted between them.
Extraction? Who in Aeonfex would have the audacity to attempt that? And by what means?
My sources have been active.
Evie chimed in, her voice steady.
There are murmurs about the Cronus shippers attempting to force their way into the lucrative time travel routes. There's also a consistent rumor about a new illegal temporal anchor technology. It may be crude, but it works for short-distance operations.
Crude,
Jules sneered, his eyes still fixed on his console.
The distortion signature indicates remarkable precision, Broker Sterling. It's a controlled deviation. Someone has shifted Courier 7b Theta's personal timeline away from the main path. They haven't taken over the aero coach. They've merely altered its current trajectory.
Clancy reclined, a cold smile forming on his face.
They didn't merely take the Fluxite, they took the courier's opportunity. Bold move. Reckless, yet rather ingenious.
His gaze turned steely.
Locate them, track down the courier, retrieve my Fluxite, and make sure the Cronus shippers understand the consequences of trying to alter the principles of temporal trade.
Evie glided through the bustling maze of the exchange, her presence a seamless blend with the frenetic energy around her. Her natural charisma was her most potent weapon, drawing people in and encouraging them to lower their guard. Over the next hour, she navigated the crowded floor, where voices clashed and deals were struck, her ears finely tuned to the murmurs and whispers exchanged among lower-tier brokers and even a few rift miners who were in town on leave. Information flowed like a hidden current beneath the surface. The Cronus shippers had indeed acquired a device, meticulously crafted by a disgraced former apprentice of the Royal Horologic Society. This device possessed the extraordinary capability to create miniature, stable temporal anchors. Their intention was clear: to ensnare high-value temporal transfers with precision. Somewhere, the courier and the precious Fluxite were likely caught in a carefully engineered stable microloop, suspended in time and awaiting extraction. Jules was a flurry of calculations in the central operations chamber, tuning out the frantic voices of the dispatchers around him. His focus was solely on the glowing temporal map.
The temporal signature indicates a recursive loop,
He murmured, following a complex pattern on the projection.
They've trapped him within a causal eddy, attempting to conceal him by making his personal timeline loop every few seconds, while the world outside continues forward.
Evie reappeared, gliding silently into Clancy's office like a ghost.
Cronus shippers and their wayward society apprentice are attempting to challenge our control over time.
A mistake that will be quite costly for them.
Clancy murmured.
Jules, can you disrupt it? Can you retrieve him?
Jules's eyes, red and tired, shifted between Evie and Clancy.
Disrupting it without issues. That's the risk. Overloading the microloop might destabilize the Fluxite, or even worse, it could collapse the courier's personal timeline, turning him into Flickerkin.
Evie shivered. The destiny of the Flickerkin, living remnants of time gone awry, served as a perpetual, somber reminder of the risks inherent in their profession.
We can't take that chance, Jules. Not even for profit.
Absolutely.
Clancy replied, catching them both off guard.
The Society's goodwill and the constabulary's focus are crucial. Losing the Fluxite is something we can handle, but if we create a new Flickerkin, our reputation is ruined.
He turned to Jules.
Can you figure out a counter-frequency? One that disrupts only their temporal anchor without affecting the courier's stability?
Jules gave a slow, serious nod.
This is the most intricate time equation I've ever tackled. It demands perfect precision, needing a counter-frequency that matches their anchor's illegal signature without interfering with the courier's phase. If I'm off by even a decimal, we'll end up swapping high-grade Fluxite for a major temporal anomaly.
He sighed, raking his fingers through his already messy hair.
It's like a dance, and I have to lead it flawlessly.
The following hour was a whirlwind of hurried preparations. Jules, seated at the portable console inside Clancy's fortified aerocoach, had his face illuminated by its cool glow as he rapidly called out a series of numbers. Evie, securely fastened in the co-pilot's seat, navigated the aerocoach to the exact location Jules had specified, a barren, seemingly insignificant part of the time warp rails where the temporal distortion was at its peak. Meanwhile, Clancy, positioned in the back, maintained a direct communication line with Chief Inspector Briggs of the Temporal Constabulary, who had officers ready for immediate retrieval.
3 cycles until deviation,
Jules called out, his voice tense.
Evie, get the mobile chronal transmitter ready for a short burst transmission. Set frequency to Delta 97 Epsilon, amplitude to 0.005, and pulse duration to 1.2 seconds. Timing is crucial.
Jules, you've got just one chance.
Evie cautioned, her hand poised above the activation crystal.
I know.
He retorted, his focus fixed on the console.
The exact moment of causal peak. It's our only opportunity.
The aerocoach levitated in place as the air outside shimmered intensely, warping the rail lines beneath it. Alarms blared from the console, signaling that the Fluxite inside the trapped courier's aerocoach was destabilizing.
Fluxite is beginning to decay prematurely. The window is closing. Now, Evie! Pulse!
Jules shouted, his voice struggling to rise above the increasing temporal noise. Evie struck the crystal with her hand. The aerocoach shook intensely. A concentrated stream of emerald green chronal energy shot out from the transmitter, unseen yet tangible. Outside, the air exploded in a whirlwind of shimmering, battling lights. The counter-frequency surged into the temporal phase, challenging the illegal anchor. On Jules's console, the missing courier's signal appeared as a frantic, erratic squiggle, struggling against the pull. The alarms for Fluxite destabilization blared loudly. Evie watched with bated breath as the world outside warped into a dizzying kaleidoscope of non-linear light.
It's struggling. The anchor is pushing back,
Jules shouted as he made tiny, nearly invisible tweaks to the frequency, his fingers moving rapidly.
Stay steady. Just stay steady.
With a final jolt that sent a resounding thump through the aerocoach, the blurry image of the courier's vehicle reappeared on Jules' screen, stabilizing from the disarray. The Fluxite alarm went quiet. The courier's aerocoach, a bit battered and slightly off-kilter, materialized back into reality just above the time warp rails beneath, right in the constabulary's recovery area.
Contact!
Evie's voice resonated through the comms.
We've got the courier and the Fluxite secured. They're a bit disoriented, but stable. Great job, Jules. You really pulled it off.
Evie and Jules shared a glance, their tiredness mingling with a deep sense of victory. Clancy, who had observed the whole situation with steady focus, now flashed a broad, charming smile.
Indeed,
Clancy murmured with a sly wink at Jules. Speaking softly and earnestly to both Evie and Jules, he said,
a truly remarkable performance. You not only preserved the Fluxite, but also safeguarded the honor of this house.
The Fluxite was safely moved. The bold plan of the Cronus shippers was foiled when their unauthorized temporal anchor technology was discovered and swiftly seized by the temporal constabulary, leading to a quick and quiet investigation. Once they were back in the calm of his office, Clancy gave Evie and Jules a rare, sincere nod of appreciation.
Your distinctive skills,
He remarked.
were essential today. The market has just become a much more intriguing arena, and the Chronal Mercantile House now has a novel form of insurance.
Despite her fatigue, Evie experienced a wave of professional pride. Jules, still looking a bit pale, gave a small, contented nod. The intricate world of Aeonfex continued to buzz with activity, growing more complex by the day. But for now, the strands of its trade, which had almost been cut by a brief act of theft, were firmly restored.